Hey there, everyone. We are back with more comics I read this week. So, we've got five books. Five books, yeah, five. It was almost six, but I'm still working on that Before Watchmen omnibus. I'm like right at the end, but like, I'm not going to finish it today. Probably tomorrow or the day after, whenever I got some more time. But let's look at the stuff I've got. We got the first two books here are like this RoboCop Last Stand. It's kind of like a comic adaptation of the script that Frank Miller wrote for RoboCop 3. There's a book before these that's like the Frank Miller script for RoboCop 2, and there's like a book that collects all of them, but I found these like out in the wild like for cheap. So I was just like, I kind of wanted to read that 2 book at some point, but I guess I'll give up on that. Unless I find it magically, like I found these. But this is RoboCop Last Stand. It's if you've ever seen RoboCop 3, it's kind of the worst RoboCop. I mean, of the original RoboCops. Like it's not a great movie at all. But like it's it, see the thing that ruined RoboCop is that they made RoboCop 3 like a PG-13 movie, and RoboCop, like as popular as RoboCop was with kids when it came out, like it was a rated R movie, and it was like graphically violent. Like it was not a movie that a kid should have watched, right? Um, but it's the weirdest thing because like the kind of like 80s, late 80s, early 90s had this weird thing where things that were definitely not for kids were made into things for kids. So like RoboCop is a good example because RoboCop the movie, rated R, horribly violent, like not a kids movie. Um, they made like a RoboCop cartoon, all these action figures. Um, there was like a TV show. RoboCop was like a big news there. So like they turned this rated R movie um, into a kid show, but it wasn't the only example because like there was Toxic Avenger, which if you've ever seen is like not a movie for kids. Um, not a movie for really anybody. Let's be honest. But like um, they made like Toxic Crusaders, and there's like a Genesis game, and there's a cartoon for kids, um, which was like the tagline was they're gross, but they still get girls, which is still not for kids. Like, what are you thinking? And that was the thing. But Tales from the Crypt also had a cartoon. Really weird. So like RoboCop, Frank Miller wrote the scripts for RoboCop. I think 2 and 3, but they're changed, right? They're not the exact script. They're like edited to be PG-13, and some of the elements are changed. So like this takes the original script and makes it into like a comic book form, and it's interesting. You get like a better RoboCop 3 than the movie, definitely, and it's more violent. There's a lot more violence. There's a lot more kind of like um the difference between RoboCop 1 and 2 is really stark. And it's not that like the tone is wrong, cuz RoboCop 2 like nails the tone for RoboCop, but like it doesn't get um the same kind of like cynicism out of it. So like, there's in RoboCop 1 there's all the like weird TV shows for the world building, and there's like all those commercials interspersed in, and it's really interesting because it like gives you a good like idea of like how fucked up everything is. And like RoboCop 2 doesn't have nearly as much of that in like a societal level. And RoboCop 3 has even less. Um and this doesn't add much of it, but like it adds a little bit of that in. There's like some like fake commercials in here that are kind of like allude to things that happen later in the story. It's not that bad. So if you like RoboCop 3, like you should read the comic because it's better, but like also it's like how I guess how Frank Miller kind of imagined the movie would be before it got like changed to a PG-13. So it's interesting. It's not a bad thing. But let's continue on. We got another thing here. We got another Jonah Hex book. This is the I think this is not the last Jonah Hex book I have. I have another one that's not this series though. But I found another Jonah Hex book. This one, The Six Gun War. This one is pretty good. Like all of these, Jonah Hex is really interesting. I really like this character. I really like this comic. And like again, you get like El Diablo and Batlash, and you'll get like there's one more chick who is like the I don't know, like a super scarred up woman. What's her name? Tallulah Black. So like here you get like a good look at here's the characters. So you got like two evil characters who have like hired like a bunch of killers to hunt down Jonah Hex, and they catch him and kind of bury him alive, and he gets saved, comes back to get his revenge. So it's a pretty cool story overall. You get like Jonah Hex being Jonah Hex. You got like all the kind of like supporting cast in there doing their standard things. It's good stuff. I mean, I hope I find more of these. Like it seems unlikely at this point because like, you know, like you wouldn't expect to find this anywhere, but like I found like 3 of these books, so like I've been lucky. But I doubt I'll find any more, so my run of Jonah Hex reading is probably over for the time being at least. But again, if you're interested, these Jonah Hex books, written by Justin Gray, I believe, art by Jimmy Palmiotti. Good stuff. can't complain about Jonah Hex at all. Like, I definitely want to read more. I'll probably get the New 52 Jonah Hex stuff at some point. I'll have to look into it. I'll probably have to actually order it instead of finding a used copy. Because, you know, like the stuff, like the reason why the stuff I read is so random is just because, like, you know, there's like, I just go buy what randomly shows up at the used store, right? And there's like only one store. It's not like I can go to another place and find different at like a different used store. It's just like this one place. So that's how it is. So speaking of that, I got another kind of totally unrelated thing. I got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This is a DC book. I think it's from 2016, maybe. Let me look at that. 2016, I believe. I could be wrong. 2013. Okay, I was wrong. So 2013. This is a DC book, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from 2013. I didn't know what to expect with this. I just saw it and I was like, it's like $7, whatever. I'll take a chance. So I picked it up and I looked at it and I thought, oh, well, the art looks cool. You get to see like, you know, the art is great. Like, look at this little Beast Man action there right in the beginning. But like you'll see like the cast of characters get set up really quickly. So you'll have like, oh, there's Lockjaw. Oh, Lockjaw, there's Beast Man, there's Merman, there's Evil Lyn, there's Skeletor. So you kind of already know like from the beginning here who are the enemies gonna be. And then it goes off and it starts this weird story where like Adam is just like a woodsman. And you're just like, what is going on? Why is Adam's not the Prince of Eternia? This isn't He-Man. But like it's actually like a pretty interesting story. So like, you know, his memory has been wiped and he's been like basically like confined to the woods. And he suddenly decides he wants to leave and he starts getting attacked and starts remembering things again until eventually he finds the sword and becomes He-Man again and has a battle. It's good stuff. I actually really enjoyed this, like, more than I thought I was going to. I thought I was just going to be like, oh, that's kind of nostalgic, great. But actually, it was a really good story. And the way that, you know, they fought the characters, the way Skeletor was, I think in the end, like, they're kind of like, I don't know what happened after this, so, like, I could be totally wrong. But, like, I think at the end, like, Hordak might show up. So, like, Skeletor loses at the end, but you got this page where it's like somebody who is like his master is talking to him. And in the show that was Hordak, but I don't know. It could be something entirely different. But you can see like eventually like some of the supporting cast shows up, but like they don't do anything. They're just kind of there. So like besides Tila and Man at Arms who are there, like you can see here some pictures, but like there's Ram Man and like I think that's like Moss Man right there, but I don't even remember him showing up in the comic. But like, some of them show up briefly where there's like a scene where like when He-Man becomes He-Man, like all those people get their memories back. So like they start trying to find He-Man to join up and fight against Skeletor. And then He-Man's just like, I'm just going to go off by myself. You guys can go not show up in the rest of the comic. So it was kind of a waste, but like actually this was pretty good. I enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to, and if I find any more of these, I'll probably buy them. I hear that currently there's like a He-Man Master of the Universe versus Injustice. It's like a weird crossover where like the Injustice world, like from the game, versus He-Man. I don't know how that works, but I guess it works. It's a comic that's out. So I'll probably pick that up actually. Because this He-Man comic was really good. And if I find any more, I'll actually buy them. But, like, seems unlikely also. Next, we've got, continuing on, this is the last one. This is Hellblazer, The Devil You Know. This is volume 2 of Hellblazer. So it's, like, issues, I think, 9 to 12. It's not that many issues of Hellblazer. Like, yeah. Okay, it's Hellblazer 10 to 13. And then, like, Hellblazer Annual number 1. And then 2 issues of something called The Horrorist. So The Horrorist, I don't know what it was. It was maybe just like a mini series, but it's just John Constantine searching for somebody that's the horrorist. But like, I don't know, it's a good story. But yeah, okay, so it's a 2-issue prestige format miniseries, The Horrorist. So, like, Hellblazer, I talk about Hellblazer all the time, and eventually I'm just going to work my way through all of these, but, there's like 30 of them. It's not, you're going to see Hellblazer a lot, unless I get bored with it after a while, but, like, it doesn't, for me, like, my favorite run is, like, when Garth Ennis takes over. It's, like, not even until, like, volume 6 or 7 in this, so, like, I'm not even up to, like, where I was, like, really enjoying it, and I still, like, enjoy these. It's not that I don't like these, but I remember reading this series back in the day, and it's like kind of nostalgic to read these, and then like it's like a weird look at how comics were. So like this is comics in the 80s, but like there's a lot of text. It's very text heavy, and it's not written in a way that's like stupid. It's not like there's such a huge difference between this kind of comic and the comic like that like the Atom comic that I read that Gail Simone wrote. Like, this puts that thing to shame like 100 times over. Like, it's not even it's like barely able to call it the same medium at that point. Like, the difference is so stark. And like looking at this, like comparatively to like even to modern stuff, like this is written in a really kind of prose-ish kind of way. So like it's written like a short story where there's a lot of like descriptive text. So like here is like an example, like helpless, unbearably vulnerable and soft like a peeled turtle, it heads for the brooding safety of the sea to bide its time and start again. It's talking about this like 2-headed seal thing that was his baby. But like anyway, like that kind of thing, like you don't really get that so much anymore in comics. And I think it's interesting, like, because these stories are like full of descriptive text like that. Like this whole story where he's like dying of cancer or whatever, like it's a dream story. It's not like the later real story where he's actually dying of cancer. But like there's a lot of things like that where like the style difference between the writing, even between the issues, is different. So like this one has a lot of this is like the Newcastle story. It's a very famous Constantine story. Like it's the heart of his character in a lot of things. The Newcastle event. Like if you know anything about Constantine, like it's always a thing for him, Newcastle. But here it is, the story, and like, it's written in a way that's like really, you know, narrative heavy in the sense that like he is talking about like you're reading his thoughts, but also there's like a lot of descriptive text. And then like later on, you'll get into another story, like this story right here, where the art is quite bright and colorful. It's not as quite as descriptive in that way. Like there's a lot of just talking and dialogue, which is more normal. But then, like for example, later on, the horrorist is like totally different, right? This thing was like all almost all conversation, but like a lot of descriptive thoughts. So like it's interesting because like the flow of it is totally different. Like it's a much slower paced comic than you would expect, and there's like lots of weird things that happen where like there's a story of like a past Constantine who is like a magician in the like far past, like, and he's like extending his life but through horrible magics or whatever. But like here it is, Hellblazer. It's great. I love this. I can't get enough of these, really. I'm gonna have a lot of free time coming up soon. I'm gonna be hopefully I ordered a bunch of these. I've ordered a big stack of Hellblazers. So like I think up to like the beginning of the Garth Ennis run. So should be good. But that's about it for this week. That's the 5 books I read. But I'll definitely have Before Watchmen next week, and then whatever else I read. I've got a huge stack of stuff. So like it's variety season. I've got like a bunch of single issues I should probably read too, but they're like I have them in a box, so like it's often hard to think about like, oh yeah, I should go over and grab that box to read those single issues that I have. But I'll do that eventually. I got stuff. But yeah. Anyway, that'll do it. I will catch you guys next time.